that this could grow, the pressure could grow. And the question, I guess, is whether in some constituencies where there's a very significant Muslim community, is it possible that you will see independent Muslim candidates stand against a Labour candidate? And is that why some of these Labour MPs are so anxious? And could that vote, almost like a sort of, I use the word carefully, almost like a block vote, go towards a different candidate?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, if you look at what is happening in Bow and Bethnal Green, I mean, around Roshanara Ali's constituency, they are trying. I would say they're trying to bully her into changing her mind, right? And so there is no question that just the way your party is going to stand against the Tories in the hope that you're going to lose it for them, and very nicely Labour will win. And that's what you're going to do. Is that if there are independent Muslim candidates, they will split the vote. But that's where the pressure is coming from, not from Parliament. Well, you talk about pressure and bullying. I'm going to turn to Andy No, because you've been down at some of the protests. You've been at a lot of the protests. You've been at Bethnal Green today. Just give me the tone of the protests from when they started. Is the tone similar, or is it actually getting more aggressive, more unpleasant?
We're 5.5 weeks since the protests started. Week by week, generally, I notice people are becoming more angry. And, of course, another element to the protest has been religious extremism. I was just in Tower Hamlets covering the direct action protest outside the Labour Party office. And the sentiment being expressed there was that the MP...
That's right. Well, just look at some footage whilst you're talking, Andy, of some of this from Patrick today. You can see it there. But keep going. How bad is it, within these crowds? You've done a lot of footage yourself.
Well, the people weren't violent, but they were expressing, I would say, extreme views, viewing this MP not just as someone who voted in a way that they disagreed with, but rather was a traitor.
That's strong language.
Yes, and comments online directed at her, I saw, kept bringing up that perhaps she wasn't really a Muslim because of the way she had voted. Over and over at these demonstrations, and just last night I was covering them in central London, people are not just only chanting political slogans, they're also chanting the Islamic faith creed and other religious statements. And so, I mean, there's really an opportunity here for radical Islamists, which your country has a problem with, to recruit and to radicalize people.
Is your sense that this is significantly worse than the first couple of demonstrations in the first week?
I don't know if I would say significantly worse.
Is it worse?
But I would say worse in that just last night, in the demonstrations I've covered, I hadn't seen drivers being surrounded and threatened and their vehicles hit like it happened in last night. So it's looking more and more like what's normal in America.
My concern, Andy, is that it's sort of emboldening the protesters. Scarlett, I mean, just interesting hearing that these protests are getting worse, but not significantly worse. Just feels to me that they've been emboldened by what I think is weak policing.
Well, I think if you're a policeman, that you've got to think very hard about what it's like when you're in a minority and you've got a lot of people. I mean, I think I haven't been down to the Bethnal Green ones. I don't know what it was like, but I think what the police have done is that they've been policing it, and then they've been making the arrests afterwards. And you can, rather than picking people out of a crowd, I don't think it's about weak policing. I mean, I do think the problem is that people feel very, very passionately. And then what is worrying is, listening to Andy, is that people with extreme religious views are taking over. Whereas, I mean, I bow to Andy, but on the big marches, on the Saturday marches, you had lots and lots of young people. You had lots and lots of old.
And this is, I think you're right, Scarlett. It's the worry that essentially the extremists are taking over. And I'm very
but only in this particular case.
I'm very
it's
worried
only
about using children for very controversial political means.
Yeah, but Richard, it's very important. This is Tower Hamlets. This is one place. This isn't what's happening everywhere, right? And I don't want you to start saying this is what the protests are about. Most of the protests, up until now, the Saturday protests, have been peaceful, right? But
deeply anti-Semitic.
Some of the people on it are deeply anti-Semitic.
You talk about Tower Hamlets, but if you're not careful, we'll have children in other towns and cities also being taken out and used, and that would, I think, be very, very bad.
Well, I hope not, because I think that what every parent needs to remember is that every school day matters for every child.
Absolutely right, Scarlett, on that. We absolutely agree. Thank you to Scarlett. Thank you to Andy.